The vastness of space stretched before them, a black abyss speckled with the distant glow of dying stars. It was an eerie silence, the kind that came before a storm, before the slaughter began. Thousands of ships hung in formation above Royan Prime, a testament to a fragile alliance forged not from trust, but from necessity. High Captain Zorth stood on the command deck of the Sovereign Wrath, his claws gripping the cold metal railing as he watched the tactical holoscreen. The Armada was a patchwork of species, each with their own strengths, their own designs, human warships bristling with kinetic weaponry and layered shields, Royan dreadnoughts built for overwhelming firepower, and the sleek, energy-efficient cruisers of the Talari. But against the Erebus, would it be enough? His eyes flickered to the Indomitable, humanity's most formidable warship. Even among the massed fleets, it stood apart, its armor black as the void, its silhouette hunched like some primal beast waiting to pounce. Captain Elias Grant, the man who had first warned the galaxy of the coming horror, was aboard that ship. A man who had seen the Erebus up close and lived to tell the tale. The silence did not last. A ripple passed through space. It was subtle at first, like the universe itself had inhaled sharply. Then, darkness unfolded. They had arrived. The first Erebus ships did not appear on sensors. They did not warp in. They did not emerge from the known lanes of space. They simply were. One moment, there was emptiness. The next, their grotesque forms pulsed in the void. Ships? Creatures? It was impossible to tell where biology ended and technology began. Their surfaces twisted with living metal, shifting plates forming strange, ever-changing patterns. Some of the ships pulsed with a sickly glow, their hulls adorned with the skeletal remains of those who had come before. Others looked like husks of vessels that had been assimilated, ghost ships, twisted beyond recognition. And then they moved. The lead Erebus vessel lunged forward, splitting apart like an unfolding insect, exposing a writhing mass of tendrils tipped with something that glowed an unnatural green. 100 organic lances fired forward, cutting across space like whips of liquid death. "Shields up! Fire all forward batteries!" The command came from a dozen different admirals at once. The void erupted into chaos. The humans fired first. Massive railgun rounds screamed through the dark, impacting the Erebus warforms with the force of a meteor strike. Some found purchase, breaking apart the twisting black armor in bursts of violet flame. Others simply vanished, disintegrated before they could land. The Erebus had already adapted. The Royan dreadnoughts followed suit. Plasma lances cut through the void, scorching through the strange flesh-metal hulls, causing them to convulse, as though the ships themselves were alive. And then the Erebus returned fire. The first Talari cruiser never had a chance. A beam of spiraling energy lanced through its shields like paper, and in an instant the ship was gone, not destroyed, but absorbed, its very matter pulled into the Erebus vessel like water into a sponge. The screams of its crew echoed over the comms before cutting off abruptly. Zorth clenched his fists. This was worse than even the humans had described. "All Dominion vessels maintain formation. Keep the pressure on their flanks." The Indomitable surged forward, moving like a predator striking its prey. The warship unleashed a wave of kinetic hellfire, slug after slug slamming into the lead Erebus behemoth. But the creature ship twisted. It learned, adapted, and then did the impossible. It opened. The Erebus ship peeled apart into jagged segments, revealing a gaping maw of writhing tendrils and churning molten energy. Then, without warning, it lunged. "Brace!" The Indomitable barely maneuvered in time, as the Erebus ship devoured a nearby Union vessel whole, swallowed it, consumed it, leaving nothing behind but warped debris. The ship's remains twisted as if alive, shifting and reshaping into something new, something Erebus. A horrifying realization struck Zorth. They weren't just destroying ships, they were adding them to their own. "Target the cores! Do not engage their hulls directly!" Grant's voice was calm, but there was no mistaking the urgency. "They're absorbing energy fire. Kinetic strikes to their vitals only," Zorth snarled. "Then let's see how they handle this." The Sovereign Wrath powered up its singularity cannons, ancient weapons from the Dominion's deepest archives. These were not conventional weapons. They did not fire plasma or slugs. They fired void itself, pockets of collapsing gravity, miniature black holes that devoured anything they touched. Firing. The first singularity round hit the Erebus warform. A wound tore open in its hull, black tendrils thrashing as the section collapsed into itself. The Erebus shrieks, a sound that was felt more than heard, rippled through every open channel. It was wounded. It could feel pain, but it did not die. The wound sealed. The ship's own flesh rippled, reshaping, hardening. It had already adapted. Zorth cursed. "They're learning faster than expected." The battle had just begun, but already they were losing ships by the dozens. The Erebus were unlike anything the galaxy had ever fought. They did not just kill. They consumed, assimilated, grew stronger with every engagement. Then something changed. The Indomitable surged forward, risky, reckless. It plowed through the wreckage of fallen vessels, ignoring incoming fire, and then its forward bays opened. Zorth's eyes widened. "What are they?" He had seen humans use railguns, plasma, missiles. He had seen their warships tear through enemy fleets with brutal efficiency. But this was madness. The Indomitable detached entire sections of its own armor, deploying thousands of autonomous drones, each carrying plasma bombs lined with neutron destabilizers, weapons designed to disrupt molecular cohesion. Fire at will. The drones swarmed the Erebus vessels, detonating inside their wounds, preventing them from regenerating. The Erebus shuddered, their forms losing cohesion, struggling to adapt in time. For the first time since the battle had begun, the Erebus retreated. They weren't fleeing in panic. No, they were watching, calculating. They had tested the Alliance's forces and had seen their potential, and they were preparing their next move. As the Erebus slipped back into the abyss, Zorth released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. They had survived, but barely. The fleet had lost a third of its ships, countless lives gone in the blink of an eye. He turned to Grant. "They weren't fighting to win, were they?" Grant exhaled, watching the black void where the Erebus had vanished. "Number they were scouting." Silence. Then, Zorth spoke the words neither of them wanted to say. "Next time they won't just be testing us. Next time they'll come to finish this." The galaxy was at war. The battle over Royan Prime had been only the beginning, a brutal skirmish that had left the Alliance fleet shaken, but intact. Yet even as the survivors licked their wounds, the truth loomed over them like a death sentence. The Erebus had learned, and they were coming back. Reports streamed in from the outer sectors. Entire colonies had gone silent overnight. Fleets that should have held for weeks were wiped out in mere hours. The Erebus were no longer just testing their enemies. They were assimilating, evolving, adapting. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Elias